Three truths haunt Nidus's twisting form. Sentients deemed Orokin colonization a parasitic theft. Infested love is a ritual of unmaking. Their sentience is a weapon, not a bond. It carves his survival into a wound. The void never stops bleeding. Why does their swarm cling? Does the plague seek a host or a sacrifice? What if the Infested's bond is not a bond at all, a ritual etched in hunger? Nidus, a vessel for the Technocyte strain's first conversion, became a flawed template. Swarm not a bond adapts to damage, yet Nidus does not. Survival became a flawed fractures template their cycle. They whisper through sentient code, not to heal but to haunt. Each adaptation is a thread in the ritual's tapestry, weaving him into a sacrifice too potent to complete. The hive mind craves closure, a perfect host. Instead, they bred a wound in the void, a Warframe who remembers being human. That memory is the ritual's fulcrum. The Infested's love is a curse, to force him to reenact his own erasure, to become what the Technocyte first made him, a sacrifice that never ends. Why do they spare him? Do they fear what his final conversion might unleash? Or is his survival the ritual's true purpose? The Infested whisper to him in the language of decay. Their touch is not comfort, it is a chant, a ritual reenactment. They do not keep him alive out of affection. They need him whole to complete what the Orokin shattered. His Warframe, once a weapon, is now a prison for the very thing it was designed to kill. Every pulse of corruption is a hymn to a forgotten god. Every wound a verse in a prophecy Nidus cannot unwrite. What does it mean to survive when survival is a lie? The Infested's devotion is a mirror. It shows him his first crime, living when others died. The Orokin made weapons of children. The Infested make martyrs of mistakes. Nidus walks their filth-choked ruins not as a hero, but as an offering. His every step rehearses the day the virus will bloom not in him, but through him. The Infested do not love him. They love what he became the moment he refused to die. The ritual waits, the virus waits. And Nidus, the child who should have perished, carries their hymn in his blood, a song that turns every breath into a dirge. A hymn that will not end until he becomes the thing he was never meant to be. The Technocyte virus did not create Nidus, it unmade him. Cells rebelled, bones dissolved, every synapse became a battlefield. The virus wove war from wound, forging a shell of living alloy and screaming tissue. The sentients did not infect him, they anointed him. Their hymns seeped into his marrow, a language older than the Orokin Empire, a ritual of extinction and rebirth. Nidus was not a Warframe, he was a vessel. The hive mind slumbered in his blood, the plague was its cradle. Survival was the first scream of a corpse learning to breathe. Zariman's fire did not purify, it consecrated. The Infested clawed at his mind, calling him son weaving a lie of twisted filth. Their love was a noose of barbed tendrils, whispering he was meant for this. A king among the rot, a prophet of the coming swarm, but the ritual demanded perfection. Each scar was a verse, each scream a stanza. The sentients carved their faith into his flesh, shaping him into a glyph, a key to unlock what even oblivion feared. The hive mind stirred, not in Nidus, through him. His thoughts became a choir of dead gods, chanting in frequencies that split atoms. The Infested rejoiced, the Tenno would come, the cycle would turn. Nidus, once a name, became a question. What is a man when his body is a weapon and his will is a wound? The sentients did not love him. They needed him, a sacrifice bound not in chains but in purpose. His ascension was the first step in a funeral march. Every breath now carries the weight of 1,000 tombs. The hive mind's hymn grows louder. The Warframe's shell cracks. The mistake was not his survival. It was the belief he could ever escape the song. The hive's song is not a lullaby, it is a scalpel. Nidus breathes in the plague's rot. He does not know the sentients have already carved his name into 1,000 obsidian tablets. To survive is to become the ritual's keystone. To endure is to become the sacrifice. The void does not see you, but it remembers you. Now the Infested remember him as their masterpiece. They feed him fragments. A mother's whisper, a battlefield's scream, a child's face frozen mid-laugh. These are not memories, they are hooks. The sentients pluck them like strings on a dirge, weaving his pain into fuel for the hive. What is love but a second plague? What is devotion but a script written in agony? Nidus clings to the illusion of choice. He does not see the ritual's true shape, a loop, a cage. A song that rewinds the moment it ends. The Warframe's shell cracks, not from the plague, from the weight of every life he failed to save. The Sentients crown him with their love, a crown of teeth and static. They let him believe he resists. They let him believe he is necessary. But the ritual was never about him. It is about the ritual. The infested need a martyr who remembers, a martyr who suffers. A martyr who wants to suffer, because the void's memory is colder than death. He thinks his survival was a victory. It was the first note of a hymn that will outlast the stars. The hive minds hum, the sentients whisper. The mistake was not in surviving. It was in surviving alone. The infested do not love Nidus. They have made him a mirror. In him they relive every war, every loss, every whisper of what it means to be erased. The void does not see you, but it remembers. And Nidus, bound to the song, is its most perfect echo. In the silence between heartbeats, the infested carved their hymns into his bones. They did not love him. They needed him to remember what they could note: a ritual's weight, a civilization's regret. The sentients had bled their sentience to escape Orokin chains. Now Nidus, bound to the void's cruel refrain, became their broken key. What did they sacrifice to make him whole? A species' last whispered prayer. And in that song, the infested found a way to die again. What did survival cost him? Each touch of the infested's love was a tomb. Their whispers, sharp as bone, carved his name into dust. They did not love him. They needed a body, a vessel for the ritual that unmade the void. Nidus' flesh became its stage, his screams its verse. The void does not weep. Yet it howls in him. Fragments of stolen life's million voices, thousand deaths now hum in his veins, a chorus of the erased. His past is a shattered mirror. Reflections of a child, a scholar, a brother, each face blotted by the ritual's teeth. Who paid to make him whole? Not gods, not heroes. The nameless, the screaming, the last breaths of a species. They fed him their endings, each death a stitch in his skin, each memory a noose around his soul. The infested do not grieve, yet they circle him, hymns in their throats, repeating the rite that keeps the void at bay. Nidus walks as their song. A monument to what was eaten, a wound that refuses to bleed out. The origin system trembles, adjacent to the void, adjacent to madness. Its borders held by a man who is not a man. What is his name now? What is his face? What is his life when every heartbeat is a borrowed death? The mistake was breathing. The infested never let him forget. The ritual chamber reeks of burnt sage and iron. Cold stone presses against Nidus' spine as the Lotus surgeons carve his name from his skull. He remembers the operator's hand smaller than a child's, yet steady placing a vial of black oil over his heart. This is not death. The Lotus whispers. This is survival. But survival is a cage. The infested feed him visions, endless halls where Orokin ghosts scream, their mouths stitched shut with fungal threads. Nidus wakes in the hollowed's lair. The hive's love is a chorus of whispers in his bones. They show him Alufai's mother's face, then her face twisted by spores, then her face again, cleaner, smiling. A lie. Every memory is a toggle switch. The infested flip them to madness. He tastes copper as he claws at his own eyes, but the hive heals them, insistent. We save you, they hum. We complete you. The operator returns. Their face is a scarred mask, their voice a weaponized lullaby. You are not broken, they say, pressing a gloved hand to his chest. The contact sears. For a heartbeat, Nidus sees through their eyes. A white room, a child clutching a Warframe's hand. The Lotus promise I will protect you. The operator is the Tenno who stayed, who became the prison's key. Yet here they stand, a warden in sheep's wool. The infested demand a sacrifice. Nidus is their prophet, their puppet king. They make him walk the ritual path, feet bleeding on spore-strewn earth. At the summit, the hive's spore-mind blooms in his skull. He screams, but the sound is a hymn. The operator watches, silent. Their silence is a blade. What is a Tenno who forgets how to forget? Nidus' final memory dissolves a name, a face, a touch. The hive grants him a new face. It resembles the operator. It is a punishment. In the dark, he asks the hive, "Are you my father? Are you my jailer? Are you the thing that made me want to die?" The answer is always the same. You are ours. The Lotus facility still hums in his blood. Its sterile air, its antiseptic lies. Survival was the first spore. The hive never loved him. They needed a host. They needed a child who would remember how to be broken. Nidus floats in the void between memory and hunger. His frame is whole, but the war within devours. The Infested's ritual does not end, it loops a broken hymn. Their love is not affection, it is a shackle forged in the first spore's breath. He is their child, their experiment, their relic. The operator's void beam still fires. Each pulse etches the ritual deeper into his code. Light spills, but it is not salvation. It is a sigil, a script, a countdown. The Levirian whisper his name, but their voices blur. The hive needs him to remember how to break, how to bleed, how to become. The beam's glow mirrors the void's first touch. A mistake, a wound, a covenant. The Infested do not hold him. He holds their hunger. His existence is the altar. His will is the ash. The ritual is not a curse. It is a confession, and the hive eternal, patient listens, they always have. The operator clutches the void like a lover's hand. Nidus lets it seep into his bones. One bends the abyss to his will, the other becomes its echo. They share a past but diverge at the wound. The Infested do not hunger for his flesh. They hunger for the ritual etched into his spine. A confession written in old Sentient, a hymn to the hive that birthed them all. The Lotus knew this when she chose him. Nada, defector, architect of sanctuary, saw in him a vessel, not of hope, of remembrance. Her protection was a key, her silence was a lock. The Infested chant not to consume him, they chant to complete what the Sentient failed to finish. A circle of teeth, a crown of thorns. The ritual is not new, it is ancient. The Infested are not parasites, they are acolytes. Their love is a script, his survival was the final line. A flaw in the design, the operator fights to unmake the void. Nidus cannot, he is the verse that refuses to end. The hive does not punish him. It weeps, he is the mistake that remembers. They are the mistake that forgets. Together they form the mirror. One reflects the power to sever. The other reflects the will to endure. The Lotus did not save him. She placed him at the altar, and the abyss, eternal patient, waits, waiting to close. The Infested's hymns are not comfort. They are a ritual reenacted in bone and hunger. A sacrament of suffering, binding Nidus to their ancient, unspoken creed. He was never their kin, only their scripture made flesh. Each tendril that caresses him is a verse carved into his spine. What begins as symbiosis becomes a psychological crucible. The void does not see you, but it remembers you. His screams feed their rite, his pain their liturgy. Survival was the first wound. The second is knowing he is their prophet, whether he wills it or not. The void's memory is a prison without doors. Nidus walks its corridors, forever the living text of a curse he did not choose. And in the silence between heartbeats, the Infested whisper, "You are ours." You were never free, the narrator's voice dissolves. A cold wind stirs the image of Nidus, eyes hollow as tendrils coil like ink in water. The void remembers. What other Warframes bear the weight of crimes that never happened? The Lotus blooms where betrayal rots its mercy a cage. Era's void-bound chains did not fall, they shifted. A ritual's echo lingers in Nidus' hollow eyes, a debt paid in flesh. Did the Infested choose him, or did he choose them? The next prisoner of the old wars lies